Good morning, my friends. How are you feeling this May morning? Well, I am Reverend Elisha Christopher. I am your spiritual director here at Center for Spiritual Living Santa Cruz. I'm a they and a them, and my ancestors on my father's side come from Ireland and Scotland, and on my mother's side from Austria and Holland. Enough about me. Let's begin by taking a few breaths together. Take a deep breath in, would you? And let it go. Take another deep breath in. And let go. One more collective breath. Breathe in. So welcome to May. 2022 is rolling right along, if you've noticed. We are entering a new month, which means we have a new monthly theme, and I want to just give you the quick, 2-minute recap of where we've been since the beginning of the year. So 2022 at CSL Santa Cruz is our year of inner and outer permaculture. We're exploring the 12 principles of permaculture as described by David Holmgren, who's one of the minds in the permaculture field of existence. So we started the year with the first principle, which was observe and interact. And we said this is the basic principle of mindfulness, of science of mind, of permaculture, of conscious living, is to really be in the observe first and then interact. Really allow yourself to watch your life, look at the information that's coming at you, look at the landscape, and then begin to make small incremental changes and interactions and keep observing and interacting. From there, we moved to the concept of use and value diversity. And we said that we need a diverse field of perspectives around us. We need biodiversity in our landscape. We need diversity in our lives so that we do not fall victim to the disease and the viruses and the conspiracies that creep in when we get into the echo chamber of sameness, right? That in order to really rise up, we need various perspectives in order to see the whole. From there, we moved to March, which our principle was something. No, that was April. April was produce no waste. Design from patterns to details. Thank you. Someone was watching. So March, we talked about design from patterns to details. And we said, this is, again, science of mind at its best. The universe holds basic patterns. There are basic patterns of thought. Those patterns create our existence, right? Based on the patterns in which we think, the belief systems in which we live, the story, the religion, the upbringing that we came from. Those patterns then inform all of our choices in the minutiae of our experience. And that the goal we have is to continuously look to the higher pattern, the pattern of oneness, the patterns of nature, the patterns of the universe, and learn how to replicate those in the details of our life. Then we move to produce no waste. And we spent a lot of time last month contextualizing that in different ways. And a big piece of that was recognizing that nothing is ever wasted in your life if you choose to look at it as such. That even the difficulty, even the breakdown, even the dead stuff and the gross stuff has the potential to be compost, which can become deep and powerful nutrients that serves you in your growth. So now it's May. We have a new principle. The principle for this month is apply self-regulation and accept feedback. Oh, how do you feel about that one? Oh, no. This idea of applying self-regulation and accepting feedback, it kind of loops right back around to observe and interact, right? That in order to self-regulate, you have to pay attention, right? That self-regulation is really like observe and interact on a higher level. That it's saying, okay, I'm going to observe, I'm going to note those observations, and I'm going to begin to interact with my life based on that, and then I'm going to pay attention to what happens. And then make some choices that might be like little edits in your experience to try to say, okay, where is it that I am going? For many of you have participated in my synthesis work, and we talk a lot in synthesis about the concept of feedback loops, right? And that a feedback loop is this sort of circle of information, right? And science of mind tells us that the feedback loop that we're working with is whatever you believe sets up what you expect, and what you expect sets up what you perceive, and what you perceive sets up what you experience, and what you experience sets up what you believe, and now we're back in the loop and we're going to loop it again, right? And so every experience you have validates something that you believe, and everything that you believe validates something that you experience. And these feedback loops go back and forth to each other, right? And so the feedback loop that we want to start working on in our life is how do we start to pay attention to those feedback loops and then notice if you just like kick it a little bit, what happens when it rolls off in a different direction? If you just change one little thing, what happens when it loops around again, right? And we also have to be willing and open enough to accept the feedback from our environment, which might be the other people, it might be the interactions we're having, it could be your garden, and when you plant something, it doesn't do well in that particular area, you've learned something. Probably don't plant that there again. Or look deeper, what's happening in the soil, what's happening underneath that's not being addressed that you're not aware of, right? And so if we look at our life as this opportunity to test our feedback loops, and everything is part of the reinforcement of whatever's coming next based on everything that's been before it, we get to play with the process, right? And we are in this radical moment in human civilization where we have feedback loops running in all directions that are, let's just call them unintentional, right? And all of these unintentional, unconscious feedback loops are creating from the same laws as the conscious ones. And so we have all this stuff in the world that looks like war and global warming and societal breakdown and all the ick and gross stuff that's happening out there. And it's like, where is this coming from? And it's like a whole lot of bad feedback loops. And we each have to then say, okay, where can I step in and see if I can shift the spin? How can I be a place where a new point of gravity gets created and a new series of feedback loops is being created around me based on my perceptions and interactions in the world? And then as you walk out in the world as one who is shifting and changing the energy around you, you become part of that feedback loop for others, right? Right? That you can be the change that you wish to see in the world. And one of the things that I said last week, or that I heard us say last week, is that in this moment, what needs to change is, something approximately everything. And the great thing about that is if everything needs to change, then you can start anywhere. Right? Just if everything needs to change, start somewhere. And I heard this funny thought yesterday that a journey of one step starts with 1,000 miles. Ever been there? We talked a lot last month about last week, that thing we said you're going to do tomorrow is never going to happen if you keep saying it's happening tomorrow. And I know how much of my life is looking at that thing right there going, and there's 1,000 miles before that one step. Right? Right? And then we know that a journey of 1,000 miles just begins with one step, right? And if we see that there's 1,000 miles to go, it's like, don't waste so much time going every other direction than the direction you know you need to go, right? And I really want us to think about today. Today is May Day. We're having our ritual maypole dance and celebration in the back meadow today. And I really hope that you will join us for that, because Part of that process is about inviting all of us to get into the feedback loop of being in a collective experience of prayer together. And that when we do ritual together, when we get our bodies involved and we sing and we dance and we move and we have this symbol in the center that there's only one of us here, there's that oneness, that sameness at the very core of like the quote that Sky read. But out on the surface, there's all the individual experiences. And so we have this one kind of central symbol in the middle, and then all of our prayers, all of our individuality are represented by all the strands that are coming off of this one central point. And that as we each claim our intention and hold our strand, and we dance and weave together, there's a visual experience, there's a felt experience that reminds us that we're not in this alone. That all of our prayers are woven together, that all of our intentions are a collective of magic, that we're all working together. And there's something incredibly powerful in the experience of ceremony, in the experience of ritual, of being in a sacred container together that awakens something in us that then becomes a new point in our feedback loop. It becomes a new beginning. It becomes a new moment of creation where we have something to tie back to and say, remember when we all did that prayer together? Remember what it felt like when our prayers and intentions were all woven into one experience? And that experience is something that is so deeply lacking from our modern Western world, is those touchstones throughout the year, throughout our lives, that remind us of the sacred, that remind us of that central point that we're all spinning around. And that if we just go through the sameness of every day, working our 9 to 5, interacting with the same people, doing the same things, it's really easy to just get caught in the feedback loops and not even notice that they're there. But it's when we pause and enter a slightly different space, where we cultivate something different, that allows our awareness and our attention to see something that perhaps we didn't see before. And so I hope that you will stay today and dance with us. We need ribbon dancers, we need drummers, we need singers, we need observers, all of the ways that you can participate. And let's put our collective consciousness together, and each one of us bring our prayer and our intention and that deep longing that's in us, and bring it together and do it in a way that we can see that we're all weaving our prayers together. And every time we step into this space, that's what we're doing. We come into this ceremonial space every Sunday to be reminded of something. And I think that sometimes, and that's part of why we've begun this shift in seasons of awareness as we've been moving through the year and doing some of these rituals and celebrations, is to recognize that the whole turn of the year, that's one feedback loop. And there's all these little seasons within it. And then there's all the experiences that we have within that. And to see the bigger picture, to get it in our bodies and feel it, is so incredibly important. Right? Take a breath. And so just take a moment maybe and just close your eyes. And I want to invite you just to think for a second to yourself. What is the deep longing? What is the deep need or prayer that is alive in you right now? Whether it be for yourself, for someone else, for our community, or for the world. What's truly alive in you? If everything needs to change, what's the one thing that you can claim? The one first step that you can take. And just breathe deeper into that. And take another deep breath. And let it go. Another deep breath in. And again, I want you to rub your hands together. then I want to invite you, once you feel that energy again, to place your hands out in front of you like you're reaching out or putting your hands against a wall to play patty cake with somebody. And just feel, imagine, sense for a moment that thing that that is calling you, that life, that healing, that world, imagine that it's standing right in front of you. And it's just beckoning you to take one step forward. And just feel that energy pulling you. And just breathe into your willingness to take that one step. And to continuously be pulled, to be called by that lure of becoming, by that one who is standing right in front of you saying, "Come be me. Come live in a better world." And just reach out and see if you could almost just feel it, like it's just on the other side of the veil. And just invite it in. And just take a deep, deep breath. And just settle into this moment. And so as we breathe together, let us just drop a little deeper into the remembrance that each one of us is being breathed by something greater than ourselves. That we are being breathed by the universe, that we are being breathed by life itself, that each one of us literally has risen from the body of the earth. We are life, breathing itself. And so as we step into this moment of knowing, let each one of us remember that we are the universe in miniature, that we are divinity incarnated, that we are evolution unfolding. How sweet it is to be in this space where there are others around us who remember this truth, or who are seeking this truth, or are seeking to remember this truth about themselves, and to be in the practice of looking for it in each other. Remembering that on some beautiful, almost incomprehensible level, there's only one of us here. And that one is who and what I call God. Some of us might refer to it as our higher self or our collective consciousness, energy, or just the universe. But let us remember there is something greater that connects us. And in that something greater, there is infinite power. There is infinite potential. And when we remember that we are not in this alone, but we are in this together, and that all of our prayers are interwoven, and that everything we do affects each other, we realize that there is so much more here than we can see. And let us bring it into this space, into our lives, into this community, and into the world. Let us be a people who are all about the possibility and willing to activate something new. And so let us just be in a state of willingness to accept that the power lies within us. Remembering that that power comes from a place that is greater than we are. And when we open, when we surrender, when we let go, it can move through us and create things greater than we can comprehend. So let us be in that together today. Surrender to it. Let that river carry us to the ocean of all good, where we are bathed and purified in the waters of truth, remembering who we are. And so I say, and so it is.